so they can help us understand what actually brought them to this particular decision. And so in studios, I'm joined by Honorable Michael Mabike. He is the SDP president. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Next to him is Ambassador Henry Mayega. He is a diplomat and also pro-NRM blood. You can actually see his tie. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Happy New Year. Yeah. So let's just take a look at this particular story just to refresh our minds in case you missed it.
The Democratic Party President Norbert Mao has announced the merger with two other political parties, the Social Democratic Party and the People's Development Party, ahead of the 2021 elections. According to Mao, the merger is aimed at bringing the opposition together to challenge the national resistance movement in the next elections, with the Democratic Party as the lead party in an opposition alliance. Norbert Mao believes that the disunity in the opposition parties has cost them previous elections and is very optimistic that the integration will yield results. To affirm the integration, the members of the different political parties will sign a memorandum of understanding.
After today, we will have another ceremony where we shall formally sign a statement that will put in ink our commitment.
When asked about the criteria the integration will use to determine who the party flag bearer will be, he had this to say.
The job description of a leader who can unify all of us, this leader must be someone who can spearhead a transition. The leader we are talking about is not a leader to lead for too long. This is a leader to lead for a short time so that we can reclaim the constitution and then usher in the new Uganda.
Abedi Wanika, the PDP president, says party integration is the only way change can be delivered in Uganda.
We have agreed that working together is not simply an option, is the only option that we have. Therefore, we must work together. We are delivering what the people of Uganda have been waiting for.
During the 2016 elections, the Democratic Alliance was formed, including the main opposition parties and pressure groups in Uganda, with the aim of fielding a single presidential candidate against President Yoweri Museveni. However, plans for fielding a single candidate failed to materialize after disagreements over which party should take lead in the alliance. Olivia Komgisha, ANTV.
So that is what we saw just, is it 2 days ago? And you yet to put pen to paper, of course, and you'll tell us when we should be expecting that. But just help us understand, Honorable Mabike, where did this come from as SDP? What exactly did you look into to get into this marriage, making that decision to join with DP, PDP, and not with any other party? What was it for you?
Interestingly, many people don't understand, my dear, that myself and Dr. Abedi Wanika were formerly DP. Right. I began my politics in Makerere University. I was one of the group that began the UID. I was secretary general of the UID for 12 years. When I was in Parliament, I was the secretary of the DP caucus for a long time. In the year 2005, we developed disagreements, and we thought that at that moment we needed to step aside and participate elsewhere. In other words, we have got a history together, and then this action is informed by lessons from that history. All of you know that whenever forces which have been together scatter, disunite, they become less effective, they become less efficient. The principle behind any merger, even if it were business, is that when people merge forces, when people merge energy, when people merge resources, they become more effective, more efficient. Now, it would be foolhardy for anybody to come here and tell you that there is a single political organization in Uganda that can challenge and take on the national resistance movement alone. The people of Uganda are yearning for change. That change cannot come easily. That change will come following a combined effort of all those forces that are in opposition to the national resistance movement. So this has been informed by, first of all, our very, very serious reflection, very serious discussions, very serious analysis, and observing that it is important that at this moment in time we must merge our resources, we must merge our efforts, we must not lose time anymore. We must become more efficient in our job to ensure that we deliver for the people of Uganda a new regime that should be able to resolve the daunting challenges the country faces. Now,
yes.
Now, it is critical. We have tried this, and I can tell you that it is possible and it can work, because initially we have had a whole 1 year of interaction. We began what we call the DP-UID reunion. We have had these activities take ground in different places. We have been to Gulu, it was massive. We have been to Mukono, it was massive. We were in Masaka, massive. We were in Makerere, it was massive. We have participated together jointly on the same electoral platforms. For instance, we were together in Jinja East. We delivered an MP.
Right.
We were together in Bujiri, we delivered an MP. We were together in Arua, we delivered an MP. It means therefore...
An independent MP.
Oh, yeah. Independent on all party MP, the result is clear, we delivered. So, this works, and I believe that this is going to be a step-by-step process where we are going initially to merge, first of all, those people who understand each other better, because myself, Norbert Mao, Abed Wanika, we understand each other. We have grown up together in politics. We have worked together in DP previously, and I think that coming together is basically, it becomes much easier than I would unite with anybody else.
Ambassador, do you think that's reason enough for these three parties to actually form this marriage, this coalition, so to speak?
Well, first of all, I would like to, of course, appreciate my colleagues in democracy, that because of the expanded political space in the country and democracy, they are able to do those things which they are doing. Three parties, SNP, PDP, and DP coming together to marshal whatever they have. As to whether they have it, that is a different story, and for another time, probably 2021 is going to tell us so many things. But this expanded political space in the country, I think, is responsible for allowing everybody to express themselves and also to make these kinds of reintegration, because I don't want to call them alliances. Maybe, yes, in a sense, for the three parties to come together, yes, it is an alliance and so on and so forth, but it is because of the administration of President Yoweri Museveni that it has been possible for people to fathom, to think about coming together so that they can put whatever strength they have together. Then secondly, I just want to say that of course the election cycle is on, and therefore when people come together and they marshal and put together whatever they have in terms of strength, and I hope they have structures on the ground that they will put together, because you see, for an aggregation of political strength, or is it weakness, should I say, it requires that you actually bring what you have together. As to whether they have, we definitely, 2021 is going to tell so much about that, and of course in the subsequent times after these people coming together is going to say so much, because fortunately at the moment as we speak, elections are predictable every 5 years. We have general elections in which everybody worth their name and salt can participate. They are also regular, and so that makes really a lot of political sense for whoever wants to contest for positions of responsibility, political positions of responsibility in this country. And so when colleagues come together and they think that they can put up a fight, that's very good, and it's a plus actually to our democracy in the country, which has been strengthened by...
So you actually support that?
Absolutely, that's
but
okay.
Whether as to which they're going to actually be a threat to NRM, that's another question altogether.
Well,
it depends on what they have to bring on the table.
It's not so much another question as such, because I mean the strength of the NRM is well known, and the structures on the ground. Recently, you remember we had elections of the LC structures, and the NRM won them by 80%. As to whether our colleagues who have come together are going to reduce that level of support, I doubt it, because I mean it takes really a lot of time to build that political strength that can change the political stakes on the ground.
Okay.
It's quite different. But happily to say one thing, that people in this country are now talking less and less about using the gun to access power. People are talking about democracy, people are talking about elections, people are talking about alliances, and this is what President Yoweri Museveni has actually been talking about all these years.
Right.
And for me, that is a plus.
You know, I want us to take a look at this particular bite, and of course we'll be getting to it, just to look at the history of democratic alliances and whether they can actually survive the test of time. But before we actually get these views, let's take a look at this particular story. It's happened before, it never worked out. What will make it work out this time around? Let's get down to memory lane. Let's take a look.
This organ is going to be responsible for managing the entire process of joint candidates. So contrary to reports we have seen that we have agreed on a joint candidate, this committee has not yet sat. The guidelines are not yet in place. So anything to suggest that there is a joint candidate is really speculation.
Joint candidate, he deserves a clap and decided. Professor Gilbert from Kenya side.
While we support strongly, we have been deeply involved in the Togetherness project. We want all Ugandans who want to see change and transformation in our country to work together. We are not in a position, without the mandate of the National Council, to sign the protocol which has been signed by our colleagues.
So there was a strong resolve in 2015 for the opposition parties to merge, and every structure was put in place. But the only problem is that these parties could not agree on the one flag bearer that will go head to head with the president, Mr. Honorable, His Excellency, Mr. Museveni. So this time round, and the question has been, have you even solved out the issues that saw this particular alliances break apart initially? Have you looked into that before you actually made the decision to come together?
Number one, my dear, you got to keep trying. Yes, that was an attempt. Yes, it could not have worked. But that doesn't mean that it can never work. We have seen this sort of organization, this sort of alliance work in neighboring countries. We've seen it in Kenya, we've seen it now, right now, next neighbor in DRC Congo. So it doesn't mean that if you attempt and it doesn't work out, you should stop trying. We are going to keep trying. Secondly, we are not yet at that stage. Thirdly, TDA was badly constructed.
What do you mean?
It was TDA was just a boardroom alliance, and we are saying that this time round we are going to do things differently. We will never sit in a boardroom and try to decide for the people of Uganda, for the entire opposition, the way to go. We are going to, in constructing this, we are doing this different. First of all, there must be a foundation, and that foundation we are starting to build. The TDA never had a firm foundation. Actually, TDA had a group of politicians coming together to achieve an interim goal. I think we ought to have thought much deeply. Secondly, TDA had not tied itself very well around candidate selection. In looking at candidate selection, because that's where most alliances fail, when you are looking at candidate selection, you are supposed to look at it in the whole. You are supposed to look at it at the level of presidential, at the level of parliamentary, and another level of local government. Unfortunately, the TDA focused itself much more on presidential. And when the presidential selection failed, the whole alliance came down tumbling. Now, this is going to be constructed differently. Actually, we are putting much more emphasis on the selection of candidates at the local government and at the parliamentary. And then we are going to find a formula, perhaps a primary. The people, the opposition, the entire opposition is going to be involved in voting on who should represent the opposition. We are going to vote.
Let me ask you a question.
We are not going to sit in a boardroom, as the case was in TDA, and attempt to decide on a presidential candidate. So, yes, it was a good attempt. But now, when we come to that stage, because we are not yet there, this is going to be a step-by-step process. We are not yet there. But when we are there, certainly this is going to be decided and constructed differently. For now, we are saying, let's build a DP block within an entire opposition block. Once the DP block is concluded, then we are going to reach out to NT of Muntu, we are going to reach out to FDC of Mr. BSJ, we are going to reach out to all other political formations into something similar to a TDA, but differently constructed.
With different structures.
Yes.
Before I go to Ambassador, of course, this time around, DP will be the lead party in this particular alliance.
We actually positioning the DP as the lead party.
Yes.
Formerly it was the FDC, but with FDC, with now its problems, which you very well know, which I don't want to get into right now. I don't think it is in position now to lead this. So we are trying to position the DP right now as the lead in this new formation.
So with that question, of course, with that fact on board, we've been seeing you people coming into wrangles. You want to merge up, but there's this thing of, if it's not me as the flag bearer, then I'm going to get out and no one else will. So are we likely to see that, and what will change that aspect? Because we know it's a phenomenon in the opposition space.
This is now resolved. Actually, one of the reasons why TDA collapsed was because of ambition. There are particular players who thought they were better than others. There were players who thought they were more qualified than others. We are saying this time round, we are not going to sit in a boardroom and say, let's decide. We are going to say, Mavike you want, Maiga you want, Mao you want. Okay, let's go and organize a primary and let every opposition vote on us. So those who support change, those who support opposition will have a final say on who represents them at the ballot at the level of the presidential.
Okay.
That's the innovation that's coming in this one now.
All right. Ambassador, I want you to allay these allegations. Of course, time and again, members of the public have been saying the reason as to why the opposition can never come together, they've tried before but they failed, is because NRM has its own moles within this particular coalition, so to speak. Even right now, we had allegations during that time when Mr. Mugisha Muntu left FDC and people were calling him a mole. We also have Olaro Tunu in UPC. People at that time were calling him a mole, and NRM mole. So how true is it that it's the handiwork of NRM to ensure that the opposition parties do not work together?
Three things. The first one, of course, I want to thank my colleague, Honorable Mabike, for letting the cat out of the bag so that we know their intentions and plans and so on and so forth. So we'll plan accordingly as NRM. I want to thank you so much for that. Secondly, moles or no moles. That's just a matter of conjecture, because when you disagree, especially because I was in the opposition, that was before 2009, and I know it exceedingly well that disagreements in the opposition normally breed suspicion and all these kinds of things, and whenever you disagree, you say the person you have actually disagreed with is actually more, and so on and so forth. And to me, that shows a weakness in the opposition, and the lesser, and I don't want to advise them, but I can give them this tip, that the lesser they brand others moles, the better for their political strength and their political health. Now, moles, I don't believe in that idea, because moles or no moles, I mean, people are not reduced to chattels that they're going to be bought anyhow. That It should not happen in a vibrant political situation or democratic situation, because people should really be taken for what they are in terms of political capacities and so on and so forth. But I just wanted to take through our listeners the attempts which have been made before, because it's not the first time actually these political parties are coming together.
Right.
We had them in 1962, you remember the KY and UPC.
Right.
In 79 we had the UNLF, which brought together all people from all political stripes and groups and so on and so forth. And but I will give you the common denominator of all those alliances. And then in 85, the Okelo junta brought all sorts of people together to form a government. And don't ask me what happened to that, bringing together all those, should I say, marriages of convenience or inconvenience. Then 86, of course, the broad-based, and to me that was the most successful one, the broad-based government that was established by the Yoweri Museveni administration, which brought together all political groups, UPCs, DPs, CPs, and so on and so forth. People were brought together. Then 2001, there was another attempt by the the opposition, because that's when Kizza Besigye was manufactured for the very first time
96
to lead 2001.
96 first IPC.
96, okay, fine. That was Samogari, who was the flag bearer of the opposition. But of course, I don't want to say so many things which will embarrass my friend, because at that time, of course, I was in the UPC and I know what transpired. I don't want to talk about... okay, let me leave that for 1996.
By the way, we miss you. We miss you a lot.
It can embarrass quite a number of things. But 2001, Kizza Besigye comes and is presented by the opposition. And what happens? What happens is that actually keeps the lead, the stranglehold on the opposition up to now, actually, because the opposition is really scampering under his armpits and all these kinds of things. And of course, 2006, Kizza Besigye remained a point of reference. 2001, same story, including 2016 when the TDA came into being, and still Besigye was rearing himself somewhere in the quarters, and of course the TDA collapsed. So I hope that our colleagues learned from those experiences, that all these attempts have brought to the forth, have brought to the political scene. Because if there are no lessons drawn from those things, then I can be sure, or anybody can be sure, that actually this attempt our colleagues are trying to do is going to end up scattered, just like the rest of them before it.
Right. And let me ask you a question, and the reason as to why we posed that particular question to you is because of your history, where you're coming from politically, and you moving from the opposition to now the ruling party, NRM. What exactly transpired there? Of course, by the time you're jumping over to this other side, there are a lot of speculations, but now that you're on the table, just let us in on that one. What exactly happened? How did you make your move from opposition into NRM? What is it that you saw in NRM that you did not get in opposition?
You know, a political party is like a business enterprise. You make a profit or you don't. If I'm going to be in a business and I'm not making a profit, I either merge with others, or I leave, or I collapse the business. And that's the situation we had reached as far as the UPC is concerned, because we're not making a profit. If anything, we were being enabled left, right, and center by the NRM, because it was taking away, or it had initially actually taken away quite a substantial amounts of support right from 1986, and there were no internal attempts. If anything, we were actually fighting each other, and so the strength that we had, the little strength that we had after the coup of 1985 was also being spent. And so by 2009, I think it was worthless for me to continue to say that I should continue to be in the UPC, because there was no political profit that was being made, because the jostling within the political party, the UPC, was too much, and there was no impact being made. If anything, even the members of parliament that we would send to parliament, the numbers were dwindling after every election. And so there was absolutely no political profit that was being made. And I hope that is not the situation where IDP finds itself. If it is, then I want to encourage my dear friend, Honorable Mavik, probably to switch and run away even from the alliance they are trying to cobble together and join the NRM, so that we can build this strength, and then he's happy with the kinds of things which happen. But I don't want to discourage them, because this is a matter of democracy. It's a matter of expanded political space, and any Ugandan is free to enjoy that political space.
Let me ask you a question before, of course, I move to Honorable. You had a huge following when you were in opposition at that point in time. You had a lot of influence. What were the people saying when you made that swift and that particular huge decision to jump over to NRM?
No, of course there was a lot of, should I say, concern.
We are all not happy.
so many people are not happy.
We are all not happy.
Because I remember two questions came to me. One of them is that, first of all, even before I left UPC, one fundamental question was, why are you in that party? Then I would answer and tell them that, look, when I joined the UPC, did I ask you? Did I ask for permission from you in order to join the UPC? Then when I joined the NRM, there were also questions. They asked, why are you joining that one? They didn't even name the party I was joining. Why are you joining that one? So for me, as far as I'm concerned, political parties are entities that people choose to belong to whenever they feel comfortable. And so if Honorable Mavik and others have chosen to go back to where they came from, it is their democratic right. Absolutely.
Okay.
Democratic right.
Honorable. You have one thing in common between the two of you. You both jumped parties, like from one party to the other. With that, especially now that there's this particular merger between SDP, PDP, and DP, do you even take time to listen to the voice of the people you represent before making such huge decisions?
Number one, the difference between me and my dear brother Maiga is that Mr. Maiga came from UPC to the NRM. Me, I came from DP to SDP back to DP. That's the difference. Two, we miss him in opposition, but we know he's coming back.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you coming back?
Much. Because we also had a man called Birigwa. Ambassador Birigwa. Ambassador Birigwa left us and he joined the NRM. He became ambassador, and from ambassador is now the chairman of FDC. But apart from that, away from that, I want to say that there is a lot of opportunity ahead of us, given what is happening in his former party, UPC, given what's happening in FDC itself. I think this is very good news for DP. In that, and people, and I don't know why people would even have any problem with this, because given what's happening in other opposition parties, if now people are saying that we are now integrating or working around the DP to make it stronger, make it more viable, make it more vibrant, make it more efficient and effective, I don't see any problem, and I have no excuses to make. Secondly, by 2021, the NRM would have spent 35 years in government.
Right.
You cannot tell me logically, and anywhere in the world, that a regime which has been in power 35 years grows more in popularity. Certainly not. That regime is growing less and less in popularity. Two, when you go out in the countryside, there's a lot of goodwill. There's a lot of goodwill for change. A lot of goodwill for change that we must tap into, we must organize, we must harness.
Okay.
Similarly, there is this growing youth clamor, because you know the young people.
Right.
Have not been around for a long time.
And they're the majority.
They are right now in nearly 80% of the country's demographics. There is a whole clamor of the young people to see this country change, to see another leader change peacefully, to see better conditions, better education, better roads, better health, and better systems and better way of doing things. So there is a lot of opportunity. There is a lot of opportunity to harness.
Right.
And it is, we shall not harness those opportunities in our small enclaves. We can only be able to tap into this when we pull resources together, when we work together to make sure that we deliver for those young people, for those Ugandans who want to see change in the country.
Let me ask you a question, of course, as we come to a close, and I want a yes or no. And this I'll pose to the two of you different questions. Do you want to vie for presidency come 2021? Will you be part of them that are going to be voted in case this alliance actually brings on board other opposition parties? Do you have ambitions?
No, I don't have any ambition at all to vie for president. Not for 2021.
Okay.
There are so many years ahead of me. I should be doing that in the years ahead.
All right,
yes.
Ambassador, as we come to a close, do you think this particular, force that is coming up of this particular mergers of the opposition, them coming together to try and put NRM and bring NRM out of power, do you look at them as a threat? How is NRM viewing this? Is it a threat or not?
No, there is no threat. They are actually partners in democracy. And 35 years out of power, NRM, yes, fine. I mean, 35 years in power, the NRM, yes, fine. That's okay, because we are recruiting from the same ground. I mean, you are targeting the youth just like we are. Now, 35 years out of power can also be destructive, by the way.
Okay, so they are not a threat.
They are not a threat.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable Michael Mavike, SDP President, for coming on board, and also Ambassador Henry Mayega, diplomat and also pro-NRM. That has been it for Kickstarter. Keep your views coming. The hashtag is Morning at NTV across all the social media platforms. Don't go away. Morning at NTV still continues.
Watching Morning at NTV.
My name's Paul Kaganzi and I work with Duke's Garage. Brakes should be looked after because they wear out due to use, and over time will actually fail if we don't maintain them.